I don't really know what to say here. I don't know what to say to her.
Welcome to the Kody Chronicles, the channel that cuts through the spin, the tears, and the TV gloss, and brings you the side of sister wives the cameras never wanted you to see. In this episode, we unpack the real stories, the hidden conflicts, the leaked footage, and the family secrets that went down behind the scenes to shape the Browns. No sugarcoating, no manipulation, just the truth in its raw, unfiltered, undeniable form. It began with a telephone call no one was supposed to know about. A quiet moment on a weekday afternoon when the Brown household was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a vacuum cleaner somewhere upstairs. Robyn Brown was alone in her bedroom, pacing with the phone pressed so tightly to her ear that her knuckles had gone pale. Her breathing was uneven, her voice was shaking. And, according to the insider who witnessed the aftermath, the call she made to TLC that day wasn't just desperate, it was panicked, genuinely panicked. "Please don't air that episode," she whispered urgently into the phone. "Please, I'm begging you." But before we get to that phone call and what triggered Robyn's fear, we need to go back to the days leading up to it. Because something had shifted in the Brown universe. Something that had been building under the surface finally cracked open. And it all began with content, raw, uncut, unfiltered footage that TLC producers had reviewed and flagged. Footage that for the first time didn't make Robyn look like the sweet, misunderstood, tearful wife she had carefully presented to the world. Footage that revealed what many of the viewers had suspected for years but never had proof of. The side of Robyn Brown that existed when the cameras didn't think they were rolling. An insider described the moment producers watched the raw footage. It wasn't just a bad moment, they said. It was an unraveling. In the unaired episode, a conversation between Robyn and Kody escalated in a way that was even surprising to the seasoned crew. What started as a discussion about family finances turned into something darker. Accusations, manipulation, emotional breakdowns, and a glimpse at the dynamic the public had never been allowed to see. A dynamic Christine and Janelle had hinted at, but TLC had never aired in full. The scene started calmly enough. Kody sat at the dining table, sorting through a thick stack of papers, rubbing his forehead as he muttered numbers under his breath. Bills, land assessments, tax documents, statements from the infamous family LLC accounts. Everything was scattered in front of him. Robyn entered the room slowly, her eyes focused on the papers, her lips pressed together. She asked what he was doing, and Kody responded with a sharpness that took the crew by surprise. "Trying to figure out how we ended up here," he said. "Trying to understand why everything is falling apart." The stressed Robyn sat across from him. She leaned in, and her voice was low, packed with implication. "It's not my fault, Kody. You know it's not." Kody didn't answer straight away. He continued to thumb through the papers, his jaw clenched, refusing to look at her. Then, in a quivering voice, Robyn whispered something. The microphone caught it, though the public was never supposed to hear it. "If they air this, they'll twist it. They'll make me the villain." That one sentence altered the energy in the room. Kody's head jerked up. His frustration was suddenly replaced by fear. Not fear of Robyn, but fear of exposure. "They wouldn't air this," he said quietly, more like a hope than a belief. "They never show the bad moments." But this was no standard fight. Something in the way their voices cracked, the quivers in their words, the desperation in their tones, this was different. This was not the polished version of Robyn's tears for which viewers were accustomed. These were not the soft, trembling, perfectly timed sobs she used during confessionals. This was raw panic. A woman visibly terrified that her carefully maintained image was slipping through her fingers. The crew just kept on filming. Cameras don't turn off just because a star looks stressed. And when Kody finally snapped, slamming his hand down on the table so hard the camera jerked, the producers knew they had something explosive. "I'm tired of carrying the blame," he shouted. "I'm tired of everyone thinking you're the victim. You're not innocent, Robyn." The room fell silent. You could practically hear the air leave Robyn's lungs. She stared at him, eyes wide, lips trembling. And then, with a shaky voice that cracked halfway through, she said, "If you let them air this, you'll destroy us." That's when she broke down. Not the dramatic crying she does for interviews, but a frantic, uncontrolled panic. She covered her face, shaking, trying to breathe. The crew captured everything. The quivering shoulders, the labored gasps, the way she paced the room like she was afraid the walls were closing in. And then she said the words that would lead to the phone call later that week. "They can't show people who I really am. They'll hate me." But the scene didn't end there. Kody, overwhelmed by the chaos, abruptly got up and stormed out of the room. The producers followed him down the hall as he continued to mutter angrily under his breath, words that confirmed everything the other wives had said about him. "This is all falling apart because of her," he growled. "Everything, and I'm done protecting her." Those words would come back to haunt him. Later that night, after the crew packed up, Robyn went into a full-blown panic attack. According to the insider, she paced the house for hours, clutching her phone, repeatedly whispering, "They can't air that. They can't. They can't." She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She barely spoke to the kids. She waited until morning, then waited another day, trying to figure out what to do. She rehearsed what she would say. She planned her approach. She told herself she could fix it, because she always had before. But this time, the footage was too raw, too real, too revealing. And TLC producers weren't ignoring it. In fact, they were talking about it, discussing it, debating whether this moment was the turning point the season needed, whether they'd finally captured the unfiltered truth behind the Brown collapse. It was the type of content networks dream of. Emotional, dramatic, explosive, and impossible to fake. Robyn sensed the shift. She felt it. And that's when the panic call turned into something more. A frantic attempt to save not just her image, but her marriage, her storyline, and that fragile identity she had built over years of tears and trembling voices. She didn't know it yet, but that call that day would be the beginning of the end. Part 2 is where everything explodes. The network response, the family confrontation, and that shocking decision TLC made that sent Robyn into full meltdown.
Robyn didn't sleep that night, not even for a moment. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling in the dim glow of the hallway light, feeling the weight of everything pressing against her chest like a stone. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the scene replaying in her mind. Her panicked crying, Kody slamming the table, the camera capturing all of it, and the producer's uncertain voice over the phone. Nothing about her future felt secure anymore. Not her marriage, not her reputation, not her role on the show, not even her connection to Kody, which had long been built on fragile emotional dependence dressed as loyalty. By morning, the tension in the house was thick enough to choke on. Kody was up early, pacing the kitchen in circles, muttering under his breath about the producers, the wives, the kids, the land, the finances, everything and everyone except himself. Robyn hovered near the stairway, watching him with a mix of fear and frustration. The previous night's argument had left a crack in their carefully coordinated facade. They both knew it, and the knowledge was eating them alive. At 9 a.m. sharp, Kody's phone buzzed. A text from a TLC producer asking him to call when he was free. His stomach twisted. He looked at Robyn. She looked back at him with wide, haunted eyes. "Call them," she whispered. He hesitated. "What if it's about the footage?" Her voice shook. "It is." Kody grabbed his phone and stepped out onto the patio to dial the number. Robyn followed him to the door but didn't go out. She stood behind the glass, clutching her robe tightly at her chest, watching him like a woman awaiting a verdict. He replied in a hurry, too quickly. That in itself was a bad omen. "Hello, Kody. We went over last week's material." Kody swallowed. And there was one of those pauses producers use when they know they're about to drop a bomb. "We have to discuss the episode." Kody closed his eyes, letting his breath out very slowly. "Look, man, we had a rough day. You know how it gets. Robyn was emotional. I was emotional. You're not planning to air that, right?" The producer didn't soften, didn't reassure him, didn't offer the usual comforting smile through the phone Kody had come to rely on for years. "We're not making any decisions yet, but the footage is significant." Kody froze. Significant how? The producer chose his words carefully. "It's raw. It feels honest. It shows a side of the family dynamic viewers haven't seen before." Translation: it's dynamite. Ratings dynamite. Kody's voice dropped. "You're not seriously considering airing it." Another pause. "We haven't decided." He knew what that meant. They were considering it. They were talking about it in boardrooms. They were asking the editing team to pull the full raw footage. They were replaying it over and over, dissecting every moment, every crack in Robyn's voice, every flare of his temper. They were smelling opportunity. Meanwhile, Robyn watched through the glass door, grasping at the handle as if for balance. She could tell by the look on Kody's face, the producer wasn't giving them what they wanted. The call dragged on for another 10 minutes. Kody tried pleading, bargaining, explaining. He insisted the footage was out of context. He insisted viewers wouldn't understand. He insisted he and Robyn would be unfairly judged. But the producer's tone stayed neutral, non-committal, corporate. As the call finally concluded, Kody walked back into the house at a snail's pace, like a man carrying bad news. Robyn's voice went crackly. What did they say? "They are thinking of airing it." Her breath caught. A choked sob escaped before she could stop it. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "Kody, oni ne mogu, oni ne smogu zdelit etem s nami." But the truth, the terrifying truth, was that TLC absolutely could. Kody slumped into a chair, rubbing his temples. "I don't know what to do. They're saying it's some turning point, that it's emotional gold. They think it's what the audience wants." "It'll ruin us," Robyn wailed. "People will finally see it all. They'll hate me. They already do. They'll make me the villain of the whole season." Kody didn't argue. He didn't reassure her. Because deep down, he knew she was right. And he also knew the episode didn't just make her look bad. It made him look worse. Across town, Christine was getting coffee with a close friend when she received a text, a screenshot from someone inside production. It wasn't the footage itself, but it was a list of notes from the editors. Scene includes more conflict between Kody and Robyn, Kody's admission to being tired of protecting her, Robyn sharing fears about viewers seeing who she really is, emotional breakdown caught by several cameras, crew concern noted, unheard raw audio of private tensions never aired before. Christine's reaction was complex. It wasn't joy. It wasn't as simple as wanting Robyn exposed. It wasn't vindictive excitement. It was validation. The kind of validation a person only feels after a decade of being portrayed as unreasonable, emotional, or dramatic when they'd been living through something no one else saw. She stared at the list for a long time before texting back, "It's about time." Meanwhile, Janelle received her own message from a former crew member she'd remained friendly with. It said, simply, "You'll want to see next week's footage." She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She'd lived enough of the Brown life to know exactly what that meant. Back at Robyn's house, things were unraveling fast. Kody tried to calm her, pacing the room in short circles. Maybe the episode won't air. Maybe they'll cut it. Maybe they'll use only a small part. Robyn shook her head violently. "They won't. They wouldn't even reassure me. I've been calling them for days, Kody, and every time I get the same answer. We're reviewing it. That means they're thinking about it. That means they're testing clips on social media. That means they're showing executives. That means they think it's good TV," Kody concluded. Bitter, tired, defeated. Robyn flinched like he'd hit her. "It's not TV to me. This is my life, my marriage, my family." "And they don't care," he said quietly. "They care about ratings." That truth hung in the air like smoke. Later that afternoon, something happened that pushed Robyn into a full spiral. Her phone buzzed with a message from a number she didn't recognize. It contained just 3 words. They saw it. Robyn froze. Her throat tightened. She typed back, "Who is this?" but received no reply. Her mind raced. Who's they? The wives? The kids? Social media testers? Random insiders? Trolls? The idea that strangers had already seen her rawest, most unfiltered breakdown sent a wave of panic through her entire body. She confronted Kody. Someone already has the footage. Someone's leaking it. Kody snatched her phone, reading the message. His face reddened. "We need to find out who this is. This isn't just TLC. Someone inside is leaking this to the others." Robyn's hands were shaking. "Christine knows, I'm sure of it. Janelle, too. Someone told them." Kody didn't want to admit it, but he knew she was right. The walls of privacy they'd depended on for years were collapsing. The producers weren't protecting them anymore. The wives weren't afraid anymore. The kids weren't silent anymore. The kids' group text lit up. A message from one of Robyn's older children read, "Mom's losing it. She's terrified about the episode." Another child said, "Maybe this is what needs to happen." A third added, "She's not the only one who should be afraid." The kids were turning. Not maliciously, not gleefully, but with a sense of long suppression. The moment TLC confirmed their decision, something shifted in the Brown universe. Quietly at first, like a change in atmospheric pressure, and then, suddenly, all at once, like a storm collapsing onto a dry desert. Robyn didn't move after the call. She didn't wipe her tears. She didn't speak. She just stared at the floor, blinking slowly, as if the world had stopped making sense. This wasn't the kind of crying she did in confessionals. This wasn't the trembling, soft-spoken emotional display she used when she needed sympathy. This was panic, a thick, suffocating panic that wrapped itself around every part of her. Kody watched her from across the room, his face a mixture of frustration, fear, and something else that hadn't been there in years: resentment. Robyn had been his fortress, his confidant, his loyal defender, his shield against criticism from the wives, from the kids, from the viewers, even from the network. But now, for the first time, he saw her as the source of the chaos instead of the solution. The footage wasn't just bad for Robyn, it was bad for him. Very bad. And Kody Brown wasn't used to being the one without control. He tried to speak. "Robyn, look, maybe it won't be as bad as you think." She shook her head violently. "You didn't hear what they said. They called it authentic. Authentic. That means raw. That means messy. That means they want the world to see me like that." Kody sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Look, we've had rough moments before. They've edited things nicely. Maybe they'll soften it." "They won't," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Not this time." Across town, the news spread faster than wildfire. Christine received a text from a production assistant she'd known for over a decade. 5 words. That was all it said. "They're showing the meltdown episode." Christine stared at the screen for a long moment, not because she couldn't believe it, but because she absolutely could. She felt a strange mixture of sadness, relief, and quiet vindication. Not joy, not spite, just the soft exhale of someone who carried a heavy truth for years and finally didn't have to carry it alone. She sent a reply, brief, "I understand." The assistant replied within seconds, "This is going to change everything." Christine looked out the window toward her backyard, where David was fixing something near the patio. She didn't call him inside, she didn't rush to tell him. Instead, she whispered to herself, "It already has." Janelle learned of the decision too, though not from production. One of her sons messaged her, asking, "Mom, have you heard what they're about to air?" She replied, "What happened now?" They caught Dad and Robyn fighting, like really fighting, and the crew didn't stop recording. Janelle stared at her phone. Oh, God. Her son jumped in. "It gets worse. The editors want to use all of it." Janelle's stomach dropped. For years, she had been painted as the reasonable one, the patient one, the balanced one. She had absorbed the hits. She had endured the slanted narratives. She had watched Robyn's tears erase her own voice episode after episode. Now the truth was finally surfacing, and part of her felt relieved. But another part of her, perhaps the gentler part, felt uneasy. Because messy truth doesn't just damage one person, it damages everyone connected to it. She said over text, "This is going to blow up our entire family dynamic." Her son replied, "Wasn't it already blown up?" Janelle couldn't answer, because he was right. Meanwhile, Meri found out in the most ironic way possible, through a fan. Someone messaged her on Instagram, claiming they had heard rumors that TLC was about to air an episode showing Robyn like never before. Meri didn't respond, but the message lingered in her mind like a splinter. Later, she reached out to someone she trusted within production. The confirmation was quick and blunt. Yes, it's happening. Meri closed her eyes. She didn't smile, she didn't smirk, she didn't feel vindicated or pleased or triumphant. She simply murmured to herself, "So the curtain finally falls." Yet it wasn't just the wives doing the talking. The kids, who had spent years being careful, cautious, protective of certain truths, were suddenly more open than ever. According to an insider, a massive group chat that included over a dozen of the older Brown children lit up with messages the moment word got out. "This is overdue," was one child's comment. Another told him, "Finally, the people will see what we've been trying to explain." Another, "Do you think Dad knows they're airing it?" And then the message that stopped the whole chat for a few minutes. They didn't just catch Mom breaking down, they caught Dad blaming her. That message hit every kid in a different way, because they all knew what that meant. They'd watched their father cycle through blame for years. Blame the wives, blame the kids, blame the network, blame religion, blame stress, anyone and anything, except himself. But now it was on tape. One of the daughters wrote, "They're finally showing what it was really like." Another replied, "People won't believe how bad it got." A third added, "I don't care about the drama, I just want the truth out there." And then a quieter message came through from one of the kids who rarely spoke in the group. "We shouldn't be celebrating someone's breakdown." That shifted the tone instantly, because this wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about embarrassment. This wasn't about pointing fingers. It was about honesty. It was about healing. It was about finally acknowledging the trauma that had shaped their childhoods. Meanwhile, at the house of Robyn, the unraveling had only continued. She was on the floor now, sitting with her knees pulled to her chest, tears streaking down her face. Kody sat across from her, but he wasn't comforting her. He wasn't holding her. He wasn't saying the soothing words she had relied on for years. He said nothing, just looking, like a man standing by while the foundations of his life crumble in slow motion. She choked out at one point, "Everyone will think I'm the problem." Kody didn't respond, so she said it again, louder this time. "Everyone will think I'm the reason the family fell apart." Still, he said nothing. And that silence, cold, heavy, suffocating, hit her harder than anything TLC could ever air. "Kody, say something," she sobbed. He did finally. "Maybe you are." The words sliced the air like a knife. Robyn gasped, hand flying to her mouth. "How can you say that after everything I've done for you? After everything I've sacrificed?" Kody snapped back. "We were supposed to build something together, but somehow everything always comes back to you. Your feelings, your needs, your image." "That's not true," she sobbed. "Isn't it?" he spat. There it was, the unfiltered resentment, the unspoken tension, the truth he had been suppressing for years. Robyn broke completely, collapsing into sobs so heavy she could barely breathe. She tried to stand, but her legs nearly gave out, so she sat again, shaking uncontrollably. "You said you'd keep me safe," she whispered. Kody looked away. "I can't protect you from this." Those words echoed through the room, through the house, through the years of loyalty, tears, excuses, and emotional dependence. Robyn had always believed she was safe with Kody, not because he was strong, but because he needed her. Because she was his confidant, his defender, her emotional anchor. But now she saw it clearly. If protecting her meant damaging his image, he would drop her without hesitation. Later that night, something unexpected happened. A producer reached out to the older Brown kids, not for approval, not for commentary, but for their reaction. TLC had never done this before, but the network sensed something deeper happening, something beyond ratings, beyond drama, beyond the show. They asked the children what they thought of the episode. Brutal honesty had marked the responses. As one child said, "I think it's overdue." Another, they've protected them long enough. Another, if they show it, maybe we can all stop pretending. But the message that struck the producers the hardest came from one of the quietest, most introspective of the siblings. You can't fix something if you're still hiding it. Even the producer stopped at that. Because for the first time, the Brown children weren't scared. They weren't silenced. They weren't carrying the story quietly while the adults shaped the narrative. They were speaking. They were When TLC officially announced the release date of the Meltdown episode, everything shifted from private panic to public fallout. There was no build-up, no teaser, no trailer. The network quietly inserted the episode into the schedule, replacing a mid-season filler and moving it up by almost 3 weeks. Industry insiders immediately recognized what that meant. TLC was planning for impact. They wanted shock. They wanted virality. They wanted the internet to do the marketing for them. But the Brown family had no time to prepare, no time to strategize, no time to call emergency meetings or film last-minute confessionals to clarify the narrative. The episode was locked, the edit was complete, and the truth, raw, unfiltered, unprotected, was about to be unleashed. When the episode promo dropped on social media around 9:15 a.m. the next morning, the reaction was instant. It wasn't a typical Sister Wives promo. There were no warm family flashbacks, no dramatic voiceovers, no slow fade of the wives looking pensive. Instead, the promo opened with a single shot. Robyn sitting at her dining table, mascara streaked down her cheeks, whispering, "I can't do this anymore." Then it cut sharply to Kody shouting, his face red, veins visible, yelling something blurred and muted for the promo. Then the screen flashed. "This is the episode they never wanted you to see." Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. TikTok stitched it, Reddit exploded, fan accounts reposted it within seconds. Even casual viewers, people who hadn't watched in years, were suddenly curious. The meltdown was trending before noon. Robyn saw the promo first. She hadn't expected it so quickly, not with the episode still more than a week away. She screamed when she saw it, an involuntary, panicked sound that echoed through the house and sent everyone running. She dropped her phone on the floor like it had burned her, covering her face with both hands. "No, no, why would they use that clip? Why that one? Why did they pick that part?" she sobbed. Kody rushed to her but didn't touch her. What happened? She pointed to the phone like it was poison. "They posted it. The whole world saw me crying. They posted it." Kody grabbed the phone and watched the promo silently. His jaw tightened with every second. When the screen faded to black, he muttered, "Those cowards." "Cowards?" choked. "Kody, they said the episode we never wanted aired. They're telling people this is something we tried to hide. They're making us look guilty." Kody slammed the phone onto the counter. "They betrayed us." But it didn't stop there. The comments, they were brutal. People weren't confused. They weren't sympathetic. They weren't asking questions like they used to. They were sure of what they were seeing. She finally cracked. So this is why the family fell apart. Robyn can't hide behind those tears anymore. Kody yelling at her? Now that I didn't expect. So this partiality wasn't enough to pacify him? This is exactly what Christine and Janelle kept hinting at. Some were sharp, some were cruel, most were merely honest. And honesty hurt. Kody refreshed the comments again and again. Each reload hit him harder. He wasn't being portrayed as the misunderstood patriarch this time. He wasn't the man trying his best. He wasn't the emotional father desperate to hold his family together. Now he looked like the aggressor, the voice raiser, the man who snapped, and the audience could see it. By noon, the online reaction had turned into its own story. Entertainment sites picked it up. Headlines exploded across the internet. Kody and Robyn meltdown exposed in new episode. TLC promises the most honest Sister Wives episode ever. Insiders claim network captured a breakdown years in the making. Kody loses his cool in shocking new footage. Kids react to explosive upcoming episode. Christine saw the promo while scrolling through her phone between errands. At first, she didn't react. She watched silently, letting the footage wash over her. When it ended, she didn't smile or laugh, not even internally. Instead, she whispered, "Finally." She sent it to Janelle with a single message. "You saw this?" "Oh yeah, it's blowing up already," Janelle replied. Christine typed slowly. "I didn't expect them to show that part." "Maybe it's time," Janelle replied. Neither of them gloated. Neither said anything cruel about Robyn. They'd been on the receiving end of her emotional cycles for years. They understood the pain. But they also knew the truth had been buried for too long. Across the country, Mykelti watched the promo when a follower tagged her on social media. Her reaction was immediate. She went still, very still. She watched the clip 3 times without blinking. Then she told Tony, "This is going to tear everything open." Tony nodded. Sometimes things need to tear open. Mykelti said nothing. Peyton saw the video and laughed out loud, not because he was amused, but because he couldn't believe TLC had finally crossed the line they tiptoed around for years. "Oh, they're done protecting her," he whispered. Aspen sent a message to her sisters saying, "Mom always said the cameras don't lie forever." Even the older boys, who rarely weighed in on anything related to the show anymore, texted among themselves. One said, "He should have known this would come out one day." Another added, "I'm not ready to relive this." A third said, "I am." The kids were talking in a way they hadn't talked in years, openly, honestly, without fear. Meanwhile, Kody couldn't sit still. He paced the living room, ranting, "They're manipulating the narrative. They're making me look like the bad guy." Robyn flinched at that. "Kody, you were yelling." "I was frustrated," he snapped. "I had a right to be frustrated. They don't understand the pressure I'm under." However, the meltdown episode wasn't framing Kody as pressured. That was framing him as unraveling, as a losing control, as a man who couldn't handle the repercussions of his decisions. Robyn cried harder. "Kody, what are we going to do?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know. Then came the wives' reactions to the promo, the public ones. Christine posted something first, not dramatic, not aimed at anyone, just a quote shared on Instagram. "Truth doesn't destroy you, it frees you." People connected the dots immediately. A comment explosion ensued. Meri posted 2 hours later. Hers was short, blunt, loaded. One sentence. "The camera sees what the heart hides." The fans went nuts. Janelle didn't post immediately. When she finally did, late that night, it hit harder than either of the others. She posted a picture of a sunrise and wrote, "Sometimes the darker it is, the more we grow from the experience." It wasn't petty, it wasn't cruel, it was dignified, and that dignity made it sting even more for Kody and Robyn. Meanwhile, the story had gotten so big that talk shows, entertainment news sites, and even neutral media were covering it. The meltdown episode was now event television. People who hadn't watched since season 8 were planning to tune in. The wives were trending separately, the kids were trending, and then, unthinkably, Robyn was trending alone. Not as part of the favorite wife narrative, not as the peacekeeper. She was trending under harsher tags. Robyn exposed. Robyn meltdown. Robyn manipulation. And worst of all, Robyn truth. She saw the tags, she read the comments, she spent hours scrolling through reactions until her eyes burned. Every comment confirming her worst fear. People were seeing who she really was. Kody wasn't doing much better. He tried reaching out to the network, demanding a meeting with executives. They gave him a time slot.
The night the meltdown episode finally aired, the world felt unnervingly still inside Robyn's house. Every window was closed, every curtain drawn, and every light dimmed, as if darkness could somehow protect them from what was coming. The kids were in their rooms. Kody paced the living room like a trapped animal. Robyn sat curled in the corner of the couch, wrapped in a blanket, even though the room was warm, her hands trembling so badly she could barely hold her phone. The TV wasn't on yet, not by their choice, but because neither of them could bring themselves to press the button. The episode would air in less than 8 minutes. And the silence between them was suffocating. Kody finally stopped pacing and said, "Maybe no one will watch it." Robyn looked up at him with hollow eyes. "It's trending on Twitter, Kody." He winced. He knew she was right. The promo alone had been watched 5 million times. The clips leaked by insiders had stirred more discussion than any episode in the last 3 seasons combined. Fans were calling this the turning point, the mask-falling episode, the moment everything finally made sense. He rubbed his temples. People exaggerate. They think they know us. "They shall after this," she whispered. A countdown flashed across the screen of her phone, showing the exact number of minutes until the episode streamed nationwide. 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5. With each passing second, her breathing grew shallower. Meanwhile, across the country, households were preparing for the episode like it was a sporting event. Snacks on the coffee table, friends texting in group chats, Reddit threads refreshing rapidly, fans tweeting predictions. Christine's house was quiet, but not tense. She sat beside David, leaning comfortably against him as they waited for the episode to begin. She wasn't watching out of malice. She wasn't watching to revel in anyone's downfall. She was watching because this was part of her story, too. And because, for once, the truth was about to be told not through her words, but through raw footage. Janelle watched alone at first, curled on the couch with a blanket draped over her legs. Within minutes, 2 of her sons joined her quietly. Another FaceTimed in from out of state. They didn't speak.
They didn't need to. The shared heaviness said enough. Meri watched from her Airbnb. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She watched like someone who had lived this story long before cameras were ever involved. When the episode finally began, it didn't start with soft music or a montage. It opened abruptly with a black screen and an audio clip. Robyn sobbing, Kody shouting over her, a producer whispering, "Keep rolling." Viewers were stunned within 3 seconds. Then the footage cut to Robyn at the table, mascara smeared, voice shaking, as she said, "I can't do this anymore." The camera zoomed slightly, catching the quiver in her lip, the fear in her eyes, the desperation in her posture. Robyn gasped watching it unfold in real time. "They didn't blur my face. They didn't cut anything." Kody clenched his fists. "This is manipulation. This is edited to make us look bad." But the truth was undeniable. Nothing in that footage had been altered. No cuts, no jump edits, no softened angles. It was the most untouched content the show had released in over a decade. Next came Kody, red-faced, pacing, ranting about stress, loyalty, betrayal, producers interfering in his marriage. He slammed his hand on the table. The audio picked up the exact moment Robyn flinched. Viewers at home were dumbfounded. Comments went viral online. People tweeted, "She's crying, but he's not comforting her." "Kody looks completely unhinged." "That flinch says everything." "This is what the wives meant all these years." Robyn pulled the blanket tighter around herself, shaking. "Why didn't they cut that? Why didn't they cut that part?" she cried. Kody pointed at the screen. "Look at how they framed it. They want people to think I'm the villain." But it wasn't the framing. It was the footage. The next segment showed Robyn begging the producers to turn off the cameras, saying, "Please, please don't show this. Please, I'm begging you." Her voice cracked. Her face crumpled. It was a side of her the world had never seen. Not the composed, softly crying, sympathetic figure she presented in confessionals. This was raw panic. This was unfiltered fear. This was truth. And Kody, cold-looking, detached, and annoyed. He said, "Stop crying. It's only making it worse." The internet erupted. Thousands of comments came in within minutes. "That's emotional manipulation. Now we know why the family fell apart. I've never seen Robyn like this, and Kody doesn't care." Christine was right. Janelle was right. The kids were right. Robyn pulled the blanket tighter around herself, shaking. "Why didn't they cut that? Why didn't they cut that part?" she cried. Kody pointed at the screen. "Look at how they framed it. They want people to think I'm the villain." But it wasn't the framing. It was the footage. The next segment showed Robyn begging the producers to turn off the cameras, saying, "Please, please don't show this. Please, I'm begging you." Her voice cracked, her face crumpled. It was a side of her the world had never seen. Not the composed, softly crying, sympathetic figure she presented in confessionals. This was raw panic. This was truth. And Kody, cold-looking, detached, and annoyed. He said, "Stop crying. It's only making it worse." The internet erupted. Thousands of comments came in within minutes. That's emotional manipulation. Now we know why the family fell apart. I've never seen Robyn like this, and Kody doesn't care. Christine was right. Janelle was right. The kids were right. Robyn pulled the blanket tighter around herself, shaking. "Why didn't they cut that? Why didn't they cut that part?" she cried. Kody pointed at the screen. "Look at how they framed it. They want people to think I'm the villain." But it wasn't the framing. It was the footage. The next segment showed Robyn begging the producers to turn off the cameras, saying, "Please, please don't show this. Please, I'm begging you." Her voice cracked, her face crumpled. It was a side of her the world had never seen. Not the composed, softly crying, sympathetic figure she presented in confessionals. This was raw panic. This was truth. And Kody, cold-looking, detached, and annoyed. He said, "Stop crying. It's only making it worse." The internet erupted. Thousands of comments came in within minutes. That's emotional manipulation. Now we know why the family fell apart. I've never seen Robyn like this, and Kody doesn't care. Christine was right. Janelle was right. The kids were right. As the episode progressed, more footage aired. Clips of the crew gently asking if they should leave, with Robyn whispering, "No, stay. Maybe you can explain to him." Clips of Kody ranting about stress and exhaustion and family betrayal while ignoring Robyn's spiraling panic. Clips of producers exchanging glances that said it all. The worst part for Robyn was the confessionals. In hers, recorded days after the meltdown, she looked calmer but brittle. She said, "I'm just scared people will see the wrong version of me." Then the producers inserted a clip from years prior of Christine saying, "Robyn controls the narrative with her tears, but someday